I want to dive into this episode with a story that actually prompted this podcast episode. It was initially had a different title, but here we are with the 3 ways to break the all or nothing cycle. So here it goes. My client walks into the studio and she is super duper stressed. Between managing her family vacation, looking after her mom that lives with herself, keeping up with her college-aged kids, her commitment to her fitness and healthy eating routine had taken a big nosedive. But it wasn't the slip in her fitness routine that really caught my eye, but it was how hard she was being on herself, questioning herself if she'd ever get back on track with her health and fitness goals. She did exercise throughout her entire vacation. She was super proud of herself. And she said, as soon as I got back, everything fell apart. So we sat down for a little heart-to-heart before we started our Pilates session. And we talked about something that I would like to call reframing your health goals. And I explained to her that life is just not linear. And linear is not how everything goes with our health and fitness. There's a ton of roadblocks, detours on our wellness and fitness journey. And the path we're going is not fixed. So saying that I have this goal, you're not suddenly zooming into that goal without any problems. The challenges we're facing are not stopping us. They give us a little bit of a hint of new ways to stay active and healthy that are equally beneficial, but way more joyful. And I mentioned the joy choice earlier, and that was my second inspiration. So when we talked about this, you could see the aha moment popping up in her head. Suddenly, she didn't see herself as falling behind, but rather at a crossroads, ready to explore a route that resonated more with where she was in life. She started to see that tweaking her goals wasn't a sign of failure, but a step towards a healthier and even better way to exercise that suited her current situation, what's going on in her life right now. And when I saw the aha moment coming up in her and how freeing she felt instead of being frozen in place, it was something really awesome to see. The other thing that she also gave herself grace, she said, I should be doing all these things. And when I say I just can't do it. I can't get off the couch to do my Pilates workout, or I can't get off the couch because I don't have an explanation. She suddenly said, maybe it was time for me to read my book instead, or to do a walk around in my kitchen and reach my goals in a way that was benefiting my life at this particular moment, and don't make everything else fit around into what it should be. And she said that freed her of so much guilt. She said, I felt guilty because when you look at it from the inside out, she said, it was easy to do, but it just didn't happen. So it was a big aha moment, and I'm so glad that this reframing helped her. Let's talk a little bit about our habits, because we all know we establish healthy habits and we follow those habits. But sometimes those healthy habits, fitness or nutrition, might fall short just a little bit of what we expected them to do. And once we established our well-meaning, air quotes here for anybody watching the video, fitness and health habits, and they don't work out, it's so easy to spiral into a feeling of guilt and failure. A big part of the problem is in how the fitness industry often pitches us a narrative where it's just, if you just work hard enough, if you're just disciplined enough, if you just have more staying power, if you have just more of whatever it is that everybody tells you, you're reaching your goal is guaranteed. And this narrative pushes a rigid, an all or nothing approach, suggesting that success hinges on our ability to stick to the plan without faltering, underscoring long-term goals and sheer willpower as the be all and end all. And I know you may have heard this before, but willpower is really not what gets us to the end goal. We still keep hearing about it, keep people still pushing about that willpower, the steps of willpower. And yes, I talked about it too, but I am just like you, learning new things and new ideas that are more applicable to where we are in our life in midlife. So this mindset of the all or nothing can leave us feeling inadequate when, despite of all our efforts, life throws in another wrench in our routines. Like my client who said she had planned on doing her workout, and then she had to take her mother to the doctor, and then she came home and she was tired, and it never happened. So the healthy habit idea is there, but nothing changed that day. So we always got to keep in mind that day, that particular situation. So the issue is more than a lack of discipline or commitment on our part. Instead, is a disconnect between the rigid expectations set by the industry and the reality of our lives. How many times have you heard me talk about if you don't get any exercise in, walk around the kitchen counter, dance around in the kitchen instead? But more on this in this episode. The promise of guaranteed results if we just work harder or stay more motivated is so ingrained in our culture, and especially with women, overlooking the complexity of the individual motivation and the necessity for flexibility and joy in our health routines and journey. It's not personal failure, but a clash between the industry's one-size-fits-all promise and the unique evolved nature of our personal health and fitness journey. I don't know about you. Back in the day when I was a bodybuilder, I spent hours in the gym working out to reach my physique, to get my six-pack, to get my muscles bigger. Now, you will not find me in the gym ever. I find other ways to work out, but things change in our lives, and we got to honor this change so we can find the joy. Let's talk about how we can reframe our health goals instead of rigid goals. Recognize that it's not our fault that we feel that way. Involves understanding that our environment and our life's stages and emotional needs significantly shape our motivation. If your emotional need is that you'd rather need to read a book right now instead of going to kickboxing, you need to look inward to see why that is. Where does that come from? It's about shifting our approach to the one that values flexibility and acknowledges the importance of joy in movement. And I talked about this on Instagram at length. So follow me on Instagram if you're not already. It embraces the idea that our health and fitness journeys are personal. This reframing helps us forgive ourselves when disruptions, like the example with my client, occurs, and empowers us to make adjustments that better serve our well-being and happiness. So after all, it's all about being happy. We still can get fit and healthy and strong, but our habits often falter, not because of the lack of willpower. We talked about willpower a little bit before, and there's other episodes where we can talk about, I talked about this, but the discipline, but because they're misaligned with what truly motivates and fulfills us. When our habits are strictly tied to a long-term goal or imposed by external expectations, I want my body to look like XYZ, they can feel burdensome and disconnected from our daily lives. And I put a link in the show note for a episode that's called 5 Simple Strategies to Declutter Your Nutrition Habits. So we can go back into the all or nothing cycle and break that habit and look into how we can declutter our nutrition habits to reach things that to reach the health goals and fitness goals that we have with ease. Okay, I got another story. Here is our client, Maria, and this is not really Maria, but it's okay. So she is a go-getter and mom, and she was pumped to run a half marathon. But then life happened, work went into overdrive, and our kids' schedules were packed. Suddenly, those long runs didn't fit her schedule anymore, and Maria felt so crazy guilty. But here's the kicker. Maria's hiccup or roadblock wasn't about not having enough grit and determination. It was her plan that needed to be rethought a little bit. Not her commitment. She still wanted to do that, run that 5K. But she shook things up. Instead of pushing for the half marathon, she started fitting quick walks into her lunch breaks and shaking it off in dance classes on the weekends, whenever she could fit it in among her really busy schedule. Activities that made her heart sing, her booty shake, and put a smile on her face, and didn't stress her schedule. And guess what? Maria kept moving, felt awesome, and ditched the guilt trip. So Maria kept moving, felt awesome, and ditched the guilt trip. I said it again. It was a game changer. She realized that sticking with fitness becomes a breeze when you feel it's like a treat, not a chore. I have to do this in order to achieve this. Maria's story is really a classic example of why tuning our fitness routines to match our current life vibe isn't just smart, it's essential for keeping us in the game and loving it. The disconnection of all the things we want can lead to a cycle of frustration and demotivation. And that's, like mentioned earlier, guilt comes in. Guilt that has no place in our lives. As the habits we try to maintain don't offer us an intrinsic satisfaction or the adaptability, we need something that life's constant changes adapts to. So recognizing this, it becomes evident that our habits to truly work, to truly function, they must be rooted in activities that bring us joy, align with our current life stage, and offer flexibility. And here's the treat I promised you in the intro. Here is a clip from a training session with one of my clients. Now, when we bring this back to what I feel the overarching theme of our conversation is today is that doesn't stick to it comes out. I don't know what it is. I don't stick to it. Tell me more about that.
I guess feeling like one little thing might derail me in terms of feeling like frustrated of, oh, I've done it, really have watched what I've eaten, put good things in my body, feeling like I'm doing well. And then, 2 weeks later, I weigh the exact same. And then, feel like, well, clearly I'm not doing something correctly. Or I don't know, exercise, like with weight strength training, feeling like, well, I want to go to that body pump class tonight. However, I got delayed doing something else and made the choice to not, go do that.
To do everything by the books when everything goes well. Once we have a meeting go late, then we can't make it to the body pump class. Then we're stuck and we're going, why am I even trying? Because I'm going to be late. Why? I'm never going to make it to that body pump class, which makes us feel what?
Well, then it just gets more agitated because then I get angry that I let something else get in the way and, I didn't do what I had intended to do and set out to do. So then it turns into frustration or feeling like, like when you're trying to cram a whole bunch of things in a short period of time, kind of just that rushed and flurried feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just get, frustrated and
Discouraged, I would say, is probably the
discouraged.
word.
Yeah.
Discouraged. After over 35 years in the fitness industry, discussing client motivation and strategies for staying motivated, which has always been a part of my work, when I read The Joys by Michelle Segar, it provided an eye-opening experience, offering that transformative perspective on motivation in your fit and health lifestyle. Her insights in the book led me to the POP method, P-O-P, pause, option, pick, a brilliant strategy outlined in her book that influenced my coaching approach. I had talked to my clients about the idea of the POP method, but now I have a framework to explain to them so it's easily understood. As you may have been following me, and maybe I'm new to you, I like to break shit down. I like things simple. I like you to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, so you understand what the next steps are, how to transform ideas into something to make it work for you, how to not use big Latin words to describe something, but words that you know. And it doesn't mean that I don't use those big words, but we're all learning. And that's, for instance, when I teach my Pilates clients, I use very simple words that describe things, like greet the audience is not a Pilates description, is not a Pilates exercise, but when they hear we're doing the exercise, greet the audience, they know they're doing a side bend with a twist because I broke it down for them. And so there's a lot of smaller words that I break down. It could say, here's the side bend with a twist, or here's, I can't think of another one right now, but you get the idea. It's simple steps, simple actions, baby steps. Do things the way you understand them. And I want you to understand the POP method because it made such a big difference for the client that you have been listening to, and she will show up a little bit later again. So how does the POP method reframe our health goals? The process begins with a pause. This initial step encourages us to take a moment to stop, pause, breathe, assess our situation without rushing to judgment or action. It's simply pressing the pause button on your movie of life, allowing us to observe our circumstances calmly and clearly without frustration or disappointment clouding our perspective. Let's take, for instance, making a healthy meal. So you come home, you didn't buy anything for dinner, and you're looking at the fridge and there's only a whole bunch of things. There's some vegetables, there's some leftover chicken, there's some potatoes. And you could just say, oh my God, we have nothing healthy to eat. Instead, you can pause, see what you have in the fridge and the freezer, and create a meal from that. Or you could say, this is not enough food. Let me order in a healthy meal. Or you could say, heck, we have nothing. We don't feel like cooking. Let's go out and eat. So no judgment of where you're going, what you're ordering in, what you're going to create, but there will be the pause where you, instead of being frustrated, you have a choice. So from the choice, you pause, you observe the situation, then we shift on focusing on the options. This stage is really important for fostering creativity and flexibility. And I actually gave it away already, but it's okay. It's about looking beyond the obstacles and considering all the possible ways to keep moving. In our plan, or in our example today, we're cooking and staying committed to your health. Whether adapting to unexpected weather changes that impact running routines or squeeze in physical activity in a packed schedule, this step involves brainstorming various alternatives to achieve your fitness objectives. So I just gave you actually I gave it away, but I was so excited. It doesn't matter. So now you have the options. First you paused. Here's what's happening. I got no dinner. Then you go to the next step. What are my options? Eating out, ordering in, or throw together a leftover meal with eggs and potatoes and leftover vegetables and chicken. Or I said ordering in already, I think, or going out. And then we pick. Finally, we pick the decision. This is the moment where it requires you to choose what fits the moment, what best aligns with your current needs and health goal. It's deliberate action of selection, ensuring that you use a chosen path through possibly going from the initial plan, go off and go into ultimate directions that are inspired. So POP will thus help reframe our health goals without guilt and stress. So the pick is, okay, which one of the three are you going to do? Cook, leftovers, order in, or go out for a quick bite. And here is the solution that my client found in our coaching session through the POP method. If they're not willing to go the extra mile or whatever they're doing, there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. And giving, what I've learned too, is you giving more tools is not going to solve their inaction, or maybe they're not ready for it. Maybe they're not ready for what you're offering them.
Right. And it's sometimes I think just being able to hear that and to stop and recognize that is so aha, because it is when I think just really trying to pause and really take in and process and think and
Observe
yeah. Mm-hmm.
For something that works better.
Well, like the one morning we had snow, I said, I'm going to go out and shovel snow for my exercise. And it felt really good to get outside and, move the shovel, move my arms, get some fresh air. And I came in and I then did not feel, oh, now I have to go and do this, or, like that was enough. And I felt really good about making that choice. I love the handouts and the guides I find the material like inspiring in terms of like to help motivate me. I've, the fasting has been going well. That was another thing I wrote a little bit about, is just the feeling of feeling in control.
So there you have it, the POP method in action. It's not just about staying on track, it's about embracing the journey with all its twists and turns and roadblocks. Now, I've touched on this before, it's flexibility. Flexing our approach to fitness goals isn't about losing sight of what we want. We're not going to let go of our long-term health goals and maybe running that half marathon. It's actually the secret sauce to sticking with it and not burning out. Let's chat about someone aiming to amp up their fitness with weight training. Okay, here's the example. They're all in, dreaming about upping their weights during their weight routine 2 to 3 times per week. But then life throws that curveball or that roadblock, crazy work schedule, maybe a move, or a niggling injury. here is definitely where flexibility becomes our best friend. It's not about tossing those goals out the window, but tweaking your game plan, just like in a game. If the gym weights aren't on the cards, how about squeezing in body weight workouts or giving resistant bands a whirl? It's about making it work with what you've got and where you are at. And one of my favorites are my exercise snacks. I've talked about those before. It's okay, here you are. You have a torn, no, let's go a little milder. You twisted your ankle. So you twisted your ankle and you can't go to the gym and lift your weights using our weight training example. So what could you do? You could do Pilates, because Pilates doesn't have very many standing exercise and still get stronger, and it doesn't affect that ankle. And you still can work out and you don't have to go anywhere because you can do it from at home. Let's use Pilates as an example, but you could also use free weights or a water bottle if you don't have any weights to work out at home and do some of the similar exercises that you can do seated, or lying down on your back or belly, which you can do totally without sacrificing or without putting any weight on that ankle. So that shift does not mean we're straying from our goals. Absolutely not. It means we're keeping the dream alive. I know it sounds so lofty, but it is. Finding new ways to keep the fire burning without feeling overwhelmed or stuck. By mixing it up and staying adaptable, we keep moving forward, keeping that fitness journey alive and kicking, and tailor it to where we are right now. So flexibility is something where I really want you to say, okay, Heike, I hear you. I'm flexible. I'm not going to beat myself up, that it's not going to be perfect, that it's not the all or nothing cycle, that if I can't go to the gym because of my ankle or whatever it is, I'll give up now. I'm doomed. It's not. It's simply a roadblock, and it's simply making that POP strategy work. Now let's talk a little about motivation. When we're talking about motivation, it's not just a one-track ride. It's more like a winding road, consistently changing as we travel along that road. It's not about looking or locking our sights on these far-off goals like shedding pounds or running a marathon. It's more like about savoring the moment of joy in a good stretch or a good Pilates session, or in the zing of a wholesome snack. So what's the real deal with motivation? It is supposed to shift, and that is fine. Sometimes we just sit there and we're like, seriously, I don't want to do this. Just the other night, I had planned on doing my indoor ride, my spinning on my spin bike in the basement. I had everything ready. I had my earbuds, I had my water bottle, I had my towel. I had already got dressed. And then I stood there and I said, I really don't feel like doing this today. So instead of giving up, instead of feeling frustrated, instead of beating myself up, I said, all right, what can I do instead? So I did my mini exercises, like my air squats. I did a little bit of push-ups on the kitchen counter. The one that I mentioned earlier is like that little exercise snacks that you can do that may feel like they're nothing when you're doing them. But in the end, they all add up. And when you're not that motivated, instead of saying, I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and feeling bad and feeling guilty about yourself that you should, why not figure out something different? Pause, observe, and make a plan. So my plan was that I just did my air squats. I did my kitchen counter push-ups, a little bit of tricep dips, but you can figure out how to roll with the punches. You can figure out what lights you up, what you feel like doing. And I know I say dancing in the kitchen or a dance off in your living room, and you dance like nobody's watching, can feel so much better and enjoyable instead of this burdensome, now I have to do this just because that's the plan. Take it from someone who's been there. Maybe you are all about hitting the gym hard, but now a peaceful hike or a quick swim feels more up your speed. These changes aren't just okay. They're fantastic because they keep us connected to what really matters. Feeling good and finding joy in movement right here and right now. So here's the thing. Let your motivation morph and evolve. If a 10-minute walk gets you moving today, that's great. And tomorrow, if you're trying out a new recipe, okay, great too. Even better. Do something new, do something different. The key is to keep your fitness and nutrition routine joyful, flexible, and remember that it's all part of the journey. This way, you're not chasing after your goals, but you're living your best life, and your goals are your best buddy, maybe, or your companion. So with that, I also have another episode, and that's episode number 25, 6 effective tips to boost your motivation. As motivation goes in and out, you can pick and choose without guilt. So here are our 3 ways to breaking the all or nothing cycle. Breaking free from the all or nothing cycle in fitness and health begins with identifying activities that spark joy, like Maria Kondo, I know. Moving away from traditional exercise notions. If weightlifting brings you joy, knock yourself out. What brings you joy and what fits into your life right now? It's about finding what energizes and fulfills you, whether it's dancing, gardening, or playing with your grandkids or kids. These activities are as valuable to your health as any structured session. Number 1 is identify what brings you joy. Find joy in movement. Consider non-traditional activities like dancing in your living room, nurturing your garden, or engaging in games with your family, soccer, whatever it is you like to do. They not only boost your physical health, but your emotional well-being. We can't forget about how we feel about things when we do things. If you're going to the gym hating every moment of it, just don't do it. Pick something else. You have the POP method in your pocket now. Track your joy. Sounds really cute, doesn't it? Keep a simple log in your journal or an app of activities that make you happy and how you feel after doing them. This practice will help you discover patterns of joy in your routine. So when you feel like, this really sucks, I don't want to do this, go back and say, oh, I like that Zumba class. I want to do that again. Or I like the specific hike. I'm going to do that again. And incorporating joy into your fitness journey helps break this cycle of all or nothing thinking. And it encourages a more sustainable and flexible approach to staying active. You're not going to lose out. You're not going to not reach your goal. It may take you a little longer. But remember, we're not going linear. We're going up and down and sideways. Number 2 is focus on the inward rewards when we talk about the joy. Shift your focus to immediate rewards is a powerful strategy to maintaining motivation and breaking the all or nothing cycle in your fitness or health routine. It's about appreciating the here and now and recognizing how you feel right after an activity rather than waiting for the goal to have happened. When Sometimes we say, oh, picture yourself running across the finish line in your marathon. That's a great visualization. But how about you say, oh, how do I feel right after I did the soccer practice with my kids? Or I don't know, whatever you do with your adult kids or with the grandkids or by yourself. Or I went to this dance class. What did you feel like? What was the emotion that you had associated with this activity? That doesn't mean that you're not going to get to the half marathon that we used as an example earlier, or the 5K, or whatever it is, the distance, that the immediate reward is not there with a long-term goal. So my tip here is, instead of fixing on the long-term goals like weight loss, and I very rarely talk about weight loss, as I believe that is something that can happen, something it may not happen, but something that ideally is not the entire focus of why you're eating healthy and exercising. Concentrate on the immediate benefits, like feeling more energized or less stressed or looser or stronger or happier. Again, track your feelings. I know this sounds so silly, but if you have a little journal, write it down. And you heard a little bit about this in my coaching session with the client, what she did. Use a simple checklist or a Post-it note or whatever you have and write down your feelings. This practice helps solidify the link between your actions and their direct benefits, making it easier to see the value in your everyday movements. This practice helps you reframe your health and fitness goals. When you think about the air squats in the kitchen and the push-ups in the kitchen, you instantly feel your arms. It's like, oh, I exercised a little bit. Maybe on the squats, you got a little bit out of breath. And okay, I could feel my buttski moving. Focus on these immediate rewards. Makes you more likely to stick with your fitness routine, enjoying the journey without getting hung up on far off outcomes. And this helps you stay motivated in the ups and downs of motivation. And number 3 is make small, sustainable changes. Here we go. Baby steps. Embracing small, manageable changes in your daily routine, not once a week, in your daily routine, can significantly enhance your ability to stick with your fitness goals and reframe those health goals to what you want. And these minor adjustments make maintaining consistency and building momentum over time easier. Doing something you love doing, you chose joy, will build up in the end to bigger results. Here's my tip, implement small changes that can easily fit into your daily life. This might mean a 10-minute walk during lunch or a short Pilates session in the morning. Just do the 5 abs exercises in Pilates on the mat work, or do 10 air squats, or whatever it is that you want to do. Set small, achievable weekly goals and gradually build on them. Use a planner or track it, however, write it down so you know. It's just like when my doctor says, oh, write down when you're not feeling well. And so you write it down and you will see a pattern of the things as they evolve, of the things you like, of the things that made sense to you, that fit into your schedule. You can also see, based on the POP method, what you did when you didn't have enough food, what you did when you didn't want to go to the gym. So for all you journalers out there, it's really empowering. And if you're not a journaler, make a note. It doesn't have to be a whole written thing, but the more you know, the more you can make changes. Now, let's reshape your health habits. And that's what part of what we talked about with the very beginning example of my client. Understanding that setbacks are part of the journey. If you miss a workout or face obstacles, use it as an opportunity to practice flexibility. Adjust your plan as needed without self-criticism. And keep a journal, a flexibility journal, or whatever you want to call it, or any other tool to reflect on how you've adapted and remind yourself of your resilience. It can be done. Here are 4 little principles that I want you to keep in mind for your goal setting practice. Set clear, joyful goals. If you're only signing up for the half marathon so you can show your husband that you can do it, I don't know if that's so joyful. Define what success might look like for you. Make sure it aligns with activities you enjoy. And this personal connection to your goals really enhances your motivation. It makes you want to do more of it. Create a reward routine. What does that mean? Build your routine around the immediate pleasure and benefits you get from your activities or the meals you cook, making sure each step of the goal feels rewarding. You make that new meal like I did last night. I made a meal with orzo and olives and chicken, and I've never made that before. It was really tasty, and it was an instant reward, and it makes me want to do more of those recipes. And then adapt and adjust. Regularly review your progress and be willing to adjust your strategy to fit your current circumstances. It's not linear. You gotta keep it flexible, always with a mindset of self-compassion and flexibility. Because when you see the video, it says on my wall, you got this. And I believe in you that you can do it. I also believe that we don't need to be so hard on ourselves. And this is why this episode is called The 3 Ways to Break the All or Nothing Cycle. And finally, celebrate progress. We do way too little of that. Like, I celebrate my recipe I made last night, and I was like, hey, look at this. I posted it on Instagram, like, oh, I made this meal. Look at this. It was really tasty. I'm not a chef. I just follow recipes, so I don't come up with any of the recipes that you find in any of my courses, but I tried them all. I made them all to see if they're any tasty, and last night was one I think I found in the Washington Post, and that was quite tasty. So by applying those principles, you're not just working towards a specific fitness or health goal, but you are crafting a journey. And it's all about the journey that is adaptable, enjoyable, and aligned with where you are in life. The goal is the means to an end. And I sometimes say, if you never reach that goal, it's okay too. If you never run that half marathon, that's okay too. But you learn along the way what works for you, what you're willing to do, and what you are enjoying instead of what you're not enjoying. So I also want to put another link in the show notes with an episode number 140, The Importance of Developing Resilience as We Age. And that was a really great episode with Joe Pasciani. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you to take a listen to it. And let's not underestimate the power of having a supportive community. It's so super powerful to have your squad behind you on your health and fitness adventures, as I like to call them, as well as journeys. And let's face it, juggling all these wellness goals can sometimes be lonely and daunting. And that's my client. I'm her fitness pal. She comes to me and she tells me what she's struggling with. And she knows I have all kinds of answers and suggestions and ideas for her to overcome her guilt, to feel good about what she's doing and move forward in her health journey. But when we have no crew or nobody that's our fitness buddy, it's time to find some people, whether it's the Pursue Your Spark Club, and I'll leave a link in the show notes for that as well, or you have a coach like me or somebody else, or a best friend. Take, for instance, if you join one of those online fitness challenges. This is the story about someone in my group, and fake name, Sarah. She wanted to run her first 5K, but was hitting wall after wall. Things began to change once she involved herself with our online community, sharing her struggles and celebrating the small wins. Now that we're out of COVID, so the story is from back when we were still in COVID, now we can meet in person. And so the group was there for her, cheering her on, offering advice. And suddenly, Sarah wasn't just running towards her goal, she was soaring past it because there was somebody there rooting for her. And now she is going to her running group in person when she can. And she really found her stride and loves having the community where we talk about all kinds of things, not running related, but that's the magic of having a support team. It turns what feels like a solo effort into a team relay. It's all about passing the baton, helping each other cross that finish line in life. And as I mentioned, the Pursue Your Spark Club is here for you to come and join us, have a conversation, share what's ailing you, share your wins with us, because we do want to celebrate and help each other out on this midlife journey and helping each other out of breaking the all or nothing cycle. Now, as I've mentioned before, I had a survey out where I said, hey, give me feedback about the podcast. And one of the questions for me from the service was, how do I stay active? Now, I would assume that is for the other person, not a question for me. So that's at least how I interpreted it. And this episode is for you, questioner or listener that posted that question. How do you stay active with baby steps, with breaking the all or nothing cycle, with choosing joy over anything else that you do in your activity and your health, and feel or know that motivation wavers, that it's okay not to feel guilty, but you keep going forward, to keep pushing forward, sometimes with more gusto and other times with less. That's how you stay active. And staying active is different for everyone.